Cook it up. Cook it up.
Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes. Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes. Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes. Beans, greens, potatoes. You name it. Potatoes, tomatoes. Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes. Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes. Looks so good to me. You name it. Tomatoes, potatoes, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes. Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes. You name it. Potatoes, tomatoes, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes. Beans, greens, tomatoes, potatoes. Beans, greens, potatoes. You name it.
Welcome to another What's in Your Pantry in the Kitchen. Healthier options for a healthier you. I'm Evangelist Stephanie, and I have with me today Sister Rebecca. Everyone give her a hand. She is helping me out today. We have a wonderful menu that we're going to prepare for you, and it consists of a couple of things. Some of them you've done before and some you have not. I prepared Cajun jerk salmon with roasted vegetables. We have a fall roast of vegetables with squash and what else is in there?
Sweet
potatoes and a couple of Brussels sprouts because people don't really like Brussels sprouts. So we're going to put that in the air fryer. I'll show you that shortly. Then I'm going to make smashed potatoes, not mashed potatoes, smashed potatoes. I'm going to tell you how you do that. You fix it like a loaded baked potato. We're going to do that. The other thing, we have salmon, a salmon platter. Did I talk about that? No? The salmon platter. Okay, so we got the salmon. We have air-fried veggies, fried green tomatoes. We are going to make fried green tomatoes today. And let me tell you something, Stephanie has never made it before, so we're going to make it together, and you'll learn as I learn. I do want to give a disclaimer. When you listen to recipes that anyone comes in an environment and they're trying to show you some things you just can't eat. Like you might be allergic to eggs. You can't do milk, like it's buttermilk in here. So we're doing a recipe that we can handle. You may have to adjust it for yourself. So we're going to get started, and we're going to start with our roasted vegetables. So we're going to come over to the air fryer, and this is my air fryer. I know it's big, it's only me, but I do a lot of vegetables. So when you have an air fryer, let me just tell them something. With the air fryer, before you start, you can heat it, okay? You turn it on, let it run for about 2 minutes to heat it, and then you stop it. It won't let you open it until it's safe to open it, so now you can open it, okay? Push it on and open it. There you go. And then she's gonna put the veggies in here. Let me show them the veggies. Okay, so we have sweet potatoes, yellow squash, and just a little bit of Brussels sprouts in here. And we season this with a honey garlic seasoning. Put a little pepper in here, and I use avocado oil because avocado oil has the most, it's better for you. It has the best fat in it. And the reason I actually use this because it has a higher smoking point. Olive oil only has a smoking point up to 350 degrees, then it starts burning. Okay, so you want to pick oil. Although avocado oil is more expensive, I love it. I use it for everything except you don't want to cook eggs in it or anything like that. So with that being said, we're going to start this air fryer and let it run so that we can cook this. And then I'm going to start on our smashed potatoes. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a moment. So now I'm going to make smashed, not mashed, baked potatoes. What you do, you can only use these. These are the best ones to use. These are the golden potatoes. They're a little buttery and they're a little lighter. So you have to cook these first. You boil them, make sure they're tender. Then you bring them to room temperature. Then you put them on a tray. And then I'm going to smash with my cookie cutter, my cookie squasher thing. You can use a spoon, whatever you want to use, or a glass. I'm going to use this. And what I'm going to do is smash the potato. It may break up. That's okay. Don't worry about it. Depends on how much pressure you use. It's going to be as thick as you want it to be or as thin as you want it to be. And then we're going to put some fixings on top of it. You just push down really hard. They're real tender inside, but when they come out, the top will be crispy. If it breaks, don't worry about that. They're already cooked. The good thing is they're already cooked, so when we put them in the oven, the only thing we're really doing is melting the cheese. I'm going to put on top of these potatoes some turkey bacon that I already pre-cooked, and I've already made turkey bits like you get from the store, but they're not pork. And it's still, you know, when it comes to turkey bacon can have the same amount of salt as a slice of pork bacon, but it has less fat. That's the only difference. Now, Butterball does have a bacon that's 60% less sodium, and it's really low. It's only 80 milligrams per slice, and that's a big difference between this 135. So on these pieces, we're not putting a whole slice of bacon. So it's not anything to worry about. You just want to put some bacon bits on here. So you can make it like a loaded baked potato. And then I'm going to put some cheese on top. And typically with this, you can put chicken on here if you like. You could put shrimp on here. You decide what you want to use. But I use turkey bacon. And then I put cheese on it. I had some other fixings for you, but oops, one piece I don't have anything on it yet. So let's get this last one, and then we're gonna wind up putting butter on it before I put the cheese on it. Let's get some butter on here, because the butter is what's gonna brown on the potato. We wanna make sure that happens because that's what's gonna make it crispy. The potato, like I said, is already cooked. We're just heating up cheese. And this is a nice appetizer. I could have squashed it a little bit more. Typically, I would use the smaller potatoes because they smash better. You notice that one kind of broke, it's so big. So try to use the smaller golden potatoes, and when you smash it, they can stay together a little bit better than the bigger ones. So let's get the cheese on here, and then we're gonna put this in the oven for about 10 minutes. Let this cheese. Now if you're a cheese lover, put as much cheese as you want. I like cheese, but I ain't in love with it. Now there are cheeses you can do non-dairy cheese. I don't really like non-dairy cheese because most of it's soy, and I don't eat soy. So if you don't like non-dairy, use regular cheese and just make this work for you, okay? If you want to use just plain cheddar, I use Colby Jack. The white cheeses are less fat in them. You need to know that white cheeses have less fat. So I typically go with the white cheese, Swiss cheese, mozzarella cheese. Thank you, dear. And I need a towel, honey. Actually, I don't need anything. Hold on. I can get this in here. So I'm going to put this in the oven, and it's going to just heat. It's going to melt the cheese. And while that's happening, we're going to go over, and we're going to start on these fried green tomatoes. Okay, we are going to New Orleans right now. We are going to do some fried green tomatoes. Before we do that, when you season these, this is called dredging station, because you're dredging the tomatoes from one pan to the other, and you want to use a pie pan if possible, or you can use a plate, it's up to you, but you got egg. So you want to use something that's wide enough to put the egg in, and you can keep moving with it. I want to talk about salt for a minute. When you season, you got to season the flour and the cornmeal. This cornmeal is self-rising cornmeal, and it has seasonings in it, but I don't use salt. So I just wanted to show you all something. This is some sea salt. Everybody brags about sea salt. This sea salt has a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, which is 470 milligrams of salt. That is a lot of salt. Typically, people, when they're seasoning their food, they use a half a teaspoon. So you automatically doing 900 milligrams of salt with just a half teaspoon of sea salt. When it comes to, this has been in my cabinet so long, years. You see how it's turning greasy? Because it's deteriorating and it's turned a different color. I just want to show you. Seasoning salt is a reddish color. It is not yellow anymore. I mean, it's not red anymore. It's beige because it's deteriorating. I just brought it to show you. It's going in the garbage when I leave. So no seasoning salt and no sea salt. Okay? So what I use in here, I use Cajun seasonings, I use jerk seasonings, I use garlic powder, onion powder, pepper. I just use, because see, the thing is, if you don't have salt, you gotta have some seasoning. So just make sure you season well. So with the dredging, we grab the tomato, we're gonna go on the flour, egg, and then the cornmeal mixture, which is flour and cornmeal. And this is, I wanna show you this. This Wondra is wondrous. I had to do some research on. I've never used it. I've heard about it. The reason it's so good is because it's lighter like cake flour. It's not a lot of protein in it. So you want to use this when you're dredging, okay? So we're gonna get started. And I thought, I was telling Rebecca, I said I could use cake flour if I'm gonna have to get less protein because cake flour has less protein. So we're gonna start, you put the tomato in the flour, you make sure it's coated, you make sure you take it, shake all of that off, then we're gonna dip it in the egg batter, turn it over, and it's nice to use some tongs. If it slips, no problem, just pick it up. Make sure you shake it off because you don't want to drag all that batter into the cornmeal and make it mushy. And then we just dip this over here, make sure it gets on there really good, swerve it around. And then when you're done, we're gonna put it, this is for my cookies, you know, it's a cookie cooling rack over here. So you put it over here, you just keep rolling. You do the same thing you're gonna make. This is repetitive, but it goes pretty fast. Once you do it the first time, you just keep going, dip it in the egg. Don't worry about making a mess. You really can't make a mess with this. The important thing is to drop this egg off of here because the egg makes this wet. We don't want it real wet because it's got it here. So you want to make sure you keep pushing down the slice of tomato in this piece right here. I gotta use my hand on this one. Sorry guys, because I had to press it down. It's got spots on here that are not covered. And then you just put it over here. I'm gonna use my hand, it'll go faster. Okay, put it in here. Put it in here, shake it off, drop it in here. Do it like that. Shake it off. And we just keep going like this. But when you get to the cornmeal, you really need to pat this on here so it can adhere. Otherwise, when it goes in the skillet, it's not gonna be a coating on it. We wanna make sure that coating works. So shake it off, and then you just keep going. I think my skillet can hold about 5 of these, and that's a 12-inch cast iron. Another thing, you wanna use a cast iron skillet. You can use any skillet you want to, but use a cast iron because it holds the heat evenly. Just like when you fry fish, they always say use a cast iron skillet. Same way with these green tomatoes. Anytime using cornmeal, it's better to use a cast iron skillet. The only thing you need to be cautious of is the fact that cast iron gets really hot fast. Now I'm using avocado oil. Can you bring the avocado oil over, please? Avocado oil has a high heating point, which is just called a smoke point. Avocado oil is very expensive too, but I prefer that because you want to make, thank you. It's not cheap. That was about $12 on sale, but I love it. It just works better when you're cooking, especially if you're sauteing or you're cooking food in the air fryer or you're doing what I'm about to do. And I typically don't fry anything, but you gotta fry green tomatoes. You can't bake fried green tomatoes. You ever heard of baked fried green tomatoes?
What about air fry?
I never tried that. I don't know if it'll work. And let me tell you why. Because this is really dry batter. It's dry. Okay. And you need something to coat it in the air fryer. But
okay.
I made salmon croquettes in there, and they turned out really good. So we're gonna go over to the skillet. We're gonna go over to the skillet, and we're gonna put our fried green tomatoes. Look, the smashed potatoes are ready. They look delicious. And now I've got my dredging done on these fried green tomatoes, and all I have to do is drop them in the grease. Now be careful because this grease is very hot, and you want to make sure you don't burn your fingers. And the cast iron gets, like I said, very hot. So just be careful. Pick it up carefully and drop it down. These are going to turn a brown, golden brown, because there's paprika. I'm sorry, there's paprika in the in this cornmeal's paprika in the flour, so they should come out nice, pretty color. So we're gonna keep working. I'm gonna put a couple more in there right quick because the skillet is not full. And when you have a cast iron skillet and you're not using a skillet and it's heating, it smokes. I don't care what you use. It could be avocado oil, it could be canola oil. It's just not gonna work because it has to have something in there to keep it from smoking. So I'm trying to get a couple more in here so we can have the full skillet of the tomatoes. Also, our vegetables that were air fried are ready. We're just letting them stay in there so they can stay warm. And those are ready. And it only takes about 15 minutes for the vegetables. The only thing I would do, which is what I normally do, is let them stay in there a few more minutes. Just let them stay there. It's not gonna hurt anything. because sometimes they need to cook a little more. And if you take them out, they're done. There's nothing you can do about it. So our fried green tomatoes are in there. We're gonna let those cook. I'm gonna turn them over, probably about 5 minutes. You let them cook just like you would salmon croquettes or anything in the skillet. You know when it's ready because the edges will be brown. You can see the edges turn brown, and we're gonna just flip them over, and we're gonna see how this comes out. Also, typically you use a remoulade sauce, which is Louisiana, and it's a sauce you use to dip your green tomatoes in. You make it with mayonnaise, you use a little pickle juice, put hot sauce in it, you put chili pepper in it, sauce in it. I use sriracha, and then you mix it up, and you just keep tasting it. Now, I couldn't tell you a recipe for it because I have never made it before, but I will say this. I made it today. It was delicious, but I left it at home. So we don't have our remoulade sauce to use, but that's okay. I can put some hot sauce on these babies. We got hot sauce. We got Chipotle sauce. I'm a Chipotle girl. I love Chipotle. I don't care what it is. Here's the original hot sauce. The reason I bought these, they have less sodium. Like this one only has 90 milligrams of sodium, the Chipotle, and this one has 110. You really need to pay attention and read your sodium, okay? The seasonings that I use today, they all have low sodium. This one has 60 milligrams, and this is garlic parmesan, which we put on our roasted vegetables. The honey garlic I used on seasoning for this, and in here as well. This one's 110. Please, please, please pay attention to your salt. You know what I'm saying? And another thing, sometimes we put salt over here. You know, I put salt in the cornmeal. I season this, not regular salt. You know what I'm saying? It's in this. And then you come over and make another dish that's associated with that dish, and you shaking some more salt. So that's called layering. You're layering salt on top of salt. And that's where we have our problems. For instance, these mashed potatoes. There was no salt in the potato itself. I put the turkey bacon on there, but it's not a whole slice. So you figure it's maybe a half a slice of bacon. So that's only 60 milligrams of sodium. Then you have your cheese, and that's not a quarter cup of cheese or anything like that. So it's really not too much, probably about 250 milligrams on there. That's fine. But what's not fine is if I sit up here and get greedy and eat all of them, then we got a problem, okay? So make sure you don't get greedy and eat more than you need, especially these big ones. Those are big. So this could be an appetizer. You can serve it with a meal. It's up to you. Okay, now I see this is browning. Rebecca, I'm going to show you because she's never made these. You can see it's browning. If you let it go too long, it'll get too brown, and I don't want it to get too brown. Okay, and I use 2 of these to flip because it just makes it easier. It looks like salmon croquettes.
They're looking good.
You want to turn them though, because if you let them get brown, you're not going to eat them. But you want it to cook, and so that it gets a crispy. You want that crispiness. So this one's not quite as crispy because of where it's located. Yeah, it's the last one. You're right. So these are looking good. I'm gonna need a plate. This plate right here. And then once it's done, you put them on a paper towel. And I wanted to tell you also with the green tomatoes, when you slice them, make sure that you pat the tomatoes down with paper towels, the less than amount of water that you're gonna have in that tomato when you dredge it. If it's too wet, the flour's gonna clump up, the egg will be fine, but the cornmeal will clump up too. So you wanna make sure you take and do that. The other thing, you take it out the grease, just like when you do salmon croquettes. You gotta use a paper towel. Put the paper towel on your plate, do it the same way. These tomatoes, now this I can't tell you, I cannot tell you this part. When we're cooking fried green tomatoes, we're just cooking the batter. You know, you don't cook tomatoes. I mean, what are we doing? We're just cooking the batter.
We're browning the batter.
Yeah, we're browning the batter, and I guess it makes the tomato a little tender because it was really firm when you cut it. So I believe it's gonna make it a little bit tender, and we're gonna find out, but I'm gonna dredge some more so I can put another one in here, and then our food actually be ready. We have salmon as well. I think what I'm gonna do is keep dredging. Can you watch that for me, please?
I sure will.
Thank you. I'm gonna keep dredging so I can put another skillet in, and then after that, we're gonna be ready to plate. Again, we're having fall roasted potatoes, squash sweet potatoes, and a little broccoli in the air fryer. That'll be coming out soon. I just left it in there. You can leave your items in the air fryer when you're finished. I did mention that before. I'm mentioning it again. You don't have to take it right out. Let it stay in there so it can tenderize and stay warm. Okay? Let's talk about the air fryer. The air fryer is nothing but a convection oven. I just want y'all to know that. It's a convection oven. It's nothing new. Somebody got really smart, and I wish that we would come up with something new that already exists. It's another name for it. It's the air fryer, but it's nothing but a convection oven, which is excellent because convection allows the circulation of the heat, which causes your food to stay moist on the inside, and that's what you want. Crispy on the outside and moist on the inside. And I love it. I use it I've done okra, salmon croquettes. Sweet potatoes are my favorite vegetable to cook in there because it comes out so delicious. It's crispy on the outside and oh my God, it's so good. And then you just put your own seasonings on there. Now remember, always use a little sodium as an option, okay? So we're almost ready to take out that first batch. I'm gonna put some more in there, and we're gonna let you look at the salmon that was prepared with the vegetables, okay? The salmon dish typically is prepared with sweet potatoes, but unbeknownst to me, I went to cut my sweet potatoes today and they were spoiled. So I could not use them. We did manage to get some for our roasted potatoes. So I would typically, with the meal that I prepared with the salmon, use sweet potatoes, okay? Use the sweet potatoes because it gives a totally different taste. Alrighty? So I'm gonna get these in there. I'm gonna show you something. See how this is starting to clump up? See how it's lumping up? And that's because the egg is touching it. Because Miss Stephanie is not letting the egg drip enough, and that's what happens. So we're gonna see what happens when I put it in the skillet. Let me drop these in here. Grease is not quite as hot as I want it to be, but this is all we're gonna do. We're gonna move that out the way so we can make sure these potatoes here stay warm. We don't want them to get cold. So we're gonna let that cook. And that's it for this. We're gonna let the fried green tomatoes continue to cook, and we'll be right back. So Rebecca and I are back, and we are ready to smash, aren't we,
Yes,
Rebecca?
yes.
We are ready to throw down.
Yes.
So we've got our air fried sweet potatoes, yellow squash, and a few Brussels sprouts. I'm gonna make sure I don't give Rebecca the Brussels sprouts. She don't like Brussels sprouts.
No.
So I'll eat those. So we're gonna put some of these on our plate. Taste that. And see how it browns, and they actually taste very good. It depends on what seasoning you use for. I'll do the Brussels sprouts. Oh, wow. And then we have a tossed salad with avocados, tomatoes. You can put whatever you want in your salad. We made it light. We got green tomatoes. She's gonna plate the green tomatoes. And I'm gonna plate a smashed potato. I just want a small one because when you're eating a meal, this is a lot to eat. Okay, so we got, and this is all vegetables. Thank you, I'll just take one. Thank you. Again, there's a sauce that goes with this. We don't have the sauce, but we're gonna make it work with some hot sauce. So lastly, we're gonna get the salmon. And this is our salmon, roasted salmon with veggies. More than that. Yes, ma'am. I eat some salmon. This is red sockeye salmon. Yes, ma'am. I want some salmon. And just a few veggies after you finish that. Just a few, because we have some already. Now this meal right here has peppers, onions. Typically you do it with sweet potatoes, but again, we didn't get the sweet potatoes in time. The ones I had were spoiled, so you don't use spoiled sweet potatoes. How do you know they're spoiled? First of all, they're not orange. Then when you cut them, they're light orange with white specks in them. When you see those white specks, put it in the garbage, and that's what I had to do today. So we have our salad. Again, I talked about this. It has avocados. Put what you want in your salad. Do it your way. So we are going to taste this wonderful meal. Let's say grace.
Thank you, Father, for this food that you have provided for us. We ask you that you would bless it, bless the hands that prepared it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So let's see what we got going on here today. All right. Okay. This is red sock. You can tell the difference in this salmon. See how red it is? This is red sockeye wild caught salmon. Sustainable, which means it's caught in the ocean. It's got a lot of flavor to it. It really is flavorful. I need some hot sauce for my fried green tomato because I don't have that other sauce. No, Chipotle. You remember? I love Chipotle. So I'm gonna put Chipotle on here, and I just wanna taste the fried green tomato. I'm gonna taste the smashed potato. Let's see how this came out. But these are buttery potatoes.
My fried green tomato is
Oh my
good.
God. It's good?
It's good.
Oh my goodness.
It's just right.
These
It's not too
potatoes are
soft.
delicious. Oh my goodness, they're so
The dredging
moist.
is absolutely perfect.
Awesome. Let me taste the fried green tomato and see what we got going on here.
Nice and crisp.
The coating is excellent. What you need to be concerned about is your coating.
It's perfect.
It's so crispy.
Yes.
This is really good. But I just ate 2 things and I'm full already. So, the only thing I need to taste are the roasted vegetables. This came with the salmon.
Those potatoes are absolutely delicious with the salmon.
Let's do the zucchini. I'm sorry, yellow squash. You can do zucchini. I don't know about air frying zucchini, but you can. Typically, you want to saute zucchini, or you can bread it, or you can put it in the oven, or you can roast it. I've roasted it and grilled it.
I like the air fried vegetables. They're good. You'll have to remind me how the seasoning you put on them. That's good.
I will say this. I'm going to wrap up. I just want you all to know this food is very good and it's very low sodium. That's the key point here. You can have a plate full of vegetables and that's all you need, because I'm telling you, you'll be full when you finish this. So I thank you for joining us today. As I stated before, if you're looking at the recipes and what I prepared, if it's something that you can't tolerate, please do not follow my recipes. I'm just like, Stephanie, you said. No, I'm telling you, pay attention to make sure that you make your dishes for what you can tolerate and what you're not allergic to, okay? So I thank you for joining us for another What's in Your Pantry. I pray that you continue to be blessed, be empowered, be educated. God bless you, and we'll see you next time. Our next podcast in the kitchen will be Home for the Holidays, and you don't want to miss that one. It's going to be really fun. So take care and be blessed.
Potatoes, tomatoes, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes. Looks so good to me, you name it. Tomatoes, potatoes, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes. You name it. Potatoes, tomatoes, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, beans, greens, tomatoes, potatoes, beans, greens, potatoes. You name it.